Welcome to Norwegian Newcomers, the podcast where we hear about fragments from the lives of Norway's immigrant population. My guest today is Olga. Olga, welcome. Olga is a friend I met long time ago at the parties of mutual friends in Belgrade. But here in Oslo, actually, we start hanging out and getting to know each other better. At the beginning, for our listeners, Olga, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, everybody. Yes, my name is Olga and I'm from Belgrade, Serbia. So telling about my life in Belgrade now seems like it's been such a long time ago because it actually has been. I moved to Norway 13 years ago, permanently, but I've been moving back and forth a few times before that as well. So maybe I could just start telling you about my relationship with Norway and how it started. Yes. Because I started studying Norwegian at the university in Belgrade many years ago. And that was actually my first meeting with the Norwegian language, culture, and everything about Norway and Scandinavia. So I didn't know much before, and there was really not that many particular reasons why I started studying Norwegian. Otherwise, that I've been always interested in learning languages, and I'm kind of a linguist down below. The bottom of my soul is about that. So I started studying Norwegian actually because two of our mutual friends also decided that, Scandinavian languages, that sounds really interesting. So I was like, okay, I really want to do something where I know somebody. And that's how it started. So no particular reason whatsoever. And now I'm living here, and Norway has kind of totally defined my life in many ways. We'll probably come to that. So then on the second year or the third year of my studies, I came to Norway for the first time. I was in Lillehammer for 1 year.
As a student?
As a student, it's something called Folkehøyskole. And that was kind of a shocking experience because it's not a normal studying environment, right? Because people move to some kind of to a school where they live and take 1 year in many different subjects. But I did something called culture, society, something like that in 1 year. So I met a lot of people there, yes, but they were in a very specific, that was for most of the people, like, first of all, most of people were Norwegians, naturally, and they were 2 or 3 years younger than me, trying to figure out whether they're going to university or whether they're going to do anything else with their lives. And a lot of them were kind of in limbo in a way. So it was, and we were mostly confined to this place. So it was a strange meeting with Norwegian people, or whatever you can call it, young people, and I had no money and I couldn't really travel or move anywhere, and
you
I
were
didn't
trapped in Lillehammer
in a way because I couldn't really do much more than be at the school. At the same time, I didn't speak Norwegian that well. I mean, it took me that's where it kind of happened, because I needed all the classes were in Norwegian, and I was supposed to do everything in Norwegian, but I was having a headache for the first month, I think, because it was just too much. And suddenly it kind of opened the floodgates, and I was able to speak as well. So, but that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But that's my first meeting with Norway. And then I also moved once more. After that, I moved back to Belgrade. Then I moved again to Kristiansand, where I took my master's degree, and moved back again. And then before coming here, I was working at Telenor, Serbia. I was kind of a young, aspiring corporate chick, I guess. At least I thought so. So that's kind of the place I came from. I was having a rather okay life, working 12-hour days, having rather good salary, being young and feeling capable of almost everything. So it was a good time. So in a way you can say I didn't come because I was having a bad life. Yeah, so we can probably.
But what was when you decided to move to Norway on the third time again? What was the feelings and thoughts in that you made decision to move?
First of all, for us outside the EEA agreements and the EU, which is a lot of the world, you need a basis to come. You cannot just come and be here. I guess a lot of immigrants know what I'm talking about. So I actually needed to get a work permit or a study permit to come here, right? And why would I come here? Because I met a man.
Oh. Hey.
So that was the case. And then I started figuring out, okay, how can I come? And I figured out, okay, I need to be a skilled worker to get a work permit. So it's not any kind of job. I cannot really come here to clean the streets. I need to have an education that kind of makes me a skilled worker that then can get a work permit. And my employer needs somehow to back me up in a way, saying that this is the person we need and we cannot really find anybody better inside inside Norway or whatever. So it feels like
how long the process?
So I started applying for jobs, mostly any kind of job, because the most important thing was just to be here. And of course I didn't get him. I applied for I don't really remember what kind of ridiculous jobs that I now know I could never get, but I was just thinking, okay, let's try this. Until finally I realized, okay, what am I skilled at? And then I was thinking, okay, I have this master's degree and in Norwegian languages and literature, so I guess I should take a PhD. And that's what I did. And that's what I got. So at last I applied for a PhD position at the University of Oslo. And I got it. So that was the skill I could use.
Yeah. And you're still using it.
Yeah, and I'm still using it. But yeah, in a way, it sounds weird, but that was the easiest way for me to come here to take a PhD. Yes. So that's in short how it happened.
Chronologically. So first was Lillehammer, then Kristiansand, and finally Oslo.
Yes.
Can you compare those three places? Even the circumstances were quite different.
Yes, my life, I was a different person at each of these steps, right? And my life circumstances were different, as you said, because the first time I had absolutely no money. And no network and basically nothing.
So describe in one sentence your life in.
So Lillehammer was. I was thinking, okay, I moved from almost 2 million people city with all this cultural things and political things and life on the streets and whatever to a town which has, I don't know, 4 traffic lights. It was like, and this very, very small group of people that I was confined to every day for almost a year. So it was really strange. But I actually learned a lot about myself. I learned Norwegian finally in this functional way. But again, I made some friends there that are still my friends. This very day. So there are not many, but a few of them. It's like building this connection with people because you kind of need to, because you're living with them, literally. Kristiansand is a city, but still much smaller than Oslo, and I could get everywhere on my bike without actually being in very good shape. So it's manageable, and there are a lot of other students there, and it's a community. So, and the library and interesting people and teachers and whatever. So that was a good learning experience, and kind of a good place to be. I think I would probably be more alone and depressed if I were in Oslo at that point. And now finally I'm in the city. Yay! Because I'm really a city girl. So being in a city which is large enough to give you everything you need and still small enough to kind of be manageable, building networks, meeting with people. So I think it was good for me to be at different places at different times. Yeah, I don't know if you can say that Lillehammer is really bad and Oslo is the best, because it has all of these have their pluses and minuses, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think for me it feels the most natural to live in the city because that's kind of where I come from.
Olga, tell me your first impressions when you moved to Oslo.
Well, even though that was the first time I lived in Oslo, that was not my first time in Oslo. So I already knew a few people who lived here, and I've visited the city a few times before, right? So it wasn't like totally new and unexpected and whatever, but I moved into a new apartment that some friends helped me rent. That was kind of a big issue because it was almost impossible to rent an apartment from if you were not here, right? And I needed a place to live at the moment I came. So I really needed some friends to help me to kind of rent for me. That was a strange thing to do, but anyways. But I was lucky then that I had a place to move into right away. But the first few weeks at least were very hectic because it's like, okay, I'm starting in a new job. I'm figuring out who the people there are, what are the expectations, what does it really mean to do a PhD here, finding my way around with buying stuff for the apartment. It was cold, it was January. The very first day I was supposed to go or to be at the university, there was so much snow that the trams stopped or whatever. So it was kind of chaotic and cold. But it's not like, it was not shocking. It was just, okay, I was excited because I was starting this new life. And that's basically how it looked in the beginning.
Can you tell us a little bit about your work? What are you doing?
Yeah, so you know now that I started my PhD and I finished it just in time to become a PhD before I got my child. So that was a good thing because after that I realized that I probably won't be able to, or I was not sure. Was it so much about not being able or not wanting to or both, I guess, but I realized that trying to have a career in research as a researcher was probably not something for me, at least not for me with that kind of life situation as a single mother. So I didn't really know what to do, but I ended up being a research advisor, which actually means I'm really close to people who do research and I help them and I support them and I help them get projects, manage projects and do interesting stuff. It's just that I'm not doing research myself, which I think in a way combines the things I've learned in my professional life. Like the managing part I got from my experience at Telenor and knowing about research and how it works and whatever I got from my PhD. So it's kind of a natural thing, I guess, even though I never knew that. I mean, if you asked me when I was 10 years, what are you going to be? I would never say, I'm going to be a research advisor. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now. And I'm happy that I do that because I think I'm good at it and I meet a lot of interesting people and I'm part of interesting projects that are delivering interesting research. So it's kind of very vibrant environment that actually changes all the time. So it's something that I like.
Now I'm curious, what are the topics of researching?
Yes, I'm working at the Department of Culture Studies and Oriental Languages, which actually means that my department covers or employs researchers who do research on Asia, Middle East, and North and Africa north of Sahara. That's basically their research fields, and the culture studies are both global and more local, like national Norwegian cultural history, something like that.
Olga, you mentioned my life as a single mother. I know enough that I can say I really admire you and all single mothers everywhere. Can you tell me how it looks like being single mother in Norway?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that I've been thinking about this a lot of times, right? And I know that having the life that I have here as a single mother, I would never have in Serbia, because everything about the logistics of that kind of life being possible, that wouldn't work. Because when you say single mother, I think everybody should know that I'm like 200% single mother, because people sometimes say I'm a single parent, but actually they are divorced and they share responsibility, and they have responsibility for kids 1 week and the spouse has the other week. Or a lot of people have, of course, friends and family who support them. And I don't really have that. All of my family, I mean, my mother and father and everybody else is in Serbia. And I'm 100% alone with my child all the time. So getting enough money to do so, having enough time to work and to bring the child to the kindergarten, take it, bring her home afterwards now, school, and it just wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work anywhere else, because I either wouldn't have enough money or wouldn't have enough time to do this way. So in a way, I think it's very, having my own apartment and figuring out all the economic stuff around being a single parent, I don't think that it would work, and it probably wouldn't work many other places either. So in that way, I'm lucky that I'm here and that I can work normal working hours and still take care of my child in a way that I think is okay, because I really want to be with her as well. It's not like I guess anywhere else I would probably be spending a lot more time at work and much less time with her in order to bring the food to the table, right?
How old is your child?
She's 8 years old now.
And her name is Lena?
And her name is Lena, yes. And she's at school now. And
so your child, she's born in Norway?
Yes, she's born here. Her father is Norwegian. I mean, she's Norwegian. I mean, for me, it's like totally unthinkable that she could ever move back and live in Serbia. Mostly because I don't think she would function there. Also because she doesn't speak Serbian in a way, or cannot use it in any functional way that would make it possible for her to go to school there or to live there or whatever. So moving her to Serbia would probably be a very, very bad thing. And for all I'm concerned, she is Norwegian. She has a Norwegian passport and whatever. But I realized after a year or two, after I had a child, that because I'm her mother, statistically, she falls under this second generation immigrants, right? When the statistics are made about the population of Norway, she falls under that category. So she is an immigrant, only a second generation, because I'm her mother. And I was thinking that it's kind of strange, because she doesn't really belong any other place than here. But I was thinking about how it kind of makes this idea of, on the one side, this pure Norwegian part of the population prominent, that there is this number of people who are like ethnically pure Norwegians, and then you need the statistics for everybody else. It was kind of strange to think about, but I don't know. I understand that there is a need to kind of get an overview statistically, but still I feel strange when I think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, the definition that your child even is born here and living here, is that still will be considered as a second
generation immigrant, I guess.
Yeah. So you find that a little bit strange.
Yes, because it kind of makes me think about where does she belong, I guess? Because I have no problem. Of course, I feel as an immigrant because I am, and I have no problem taking on that kind of identity. I did move here. I come from another place. I have a different life path than people who were born and raised here. So I think I would have a problem saying that I'm a Norwegian, even if I get a Norwegian passport, right? Because it's just doesn't sound right. It sounds like I'm kind of erasing a big part of who I am and my life before being here and living here, even though, I mean, I'm totally fluent in Norwegian, and people don't even think that I came here. They think that I have this strange name, but I was born here. So in that way, I could blend in, but I don't know why I should do that. So owning this immigrant identity is totally okay for me, because that's just who I am. But it kind of becomes strange when I think about my daughter, because this duality, or this not Norwegian part, is kind of just a fiction in a way, right? Because we even speak Norwegian at our home. So she knows a bit of Serbian. She listens to my parents, but she answers in Norwegian, right? When we're on Skype and having conversations. So it's like there's really no duality there. Or so it's kind of, and then what it is, a whole, or not good enough, not entirely Norwegian, but actually you would never say, I mean, she would never function in Serbia. So it's not like she could just kind of go. I could, right? I could go back.
She will be Norwegian in Serbia.
So yeah, so it's kind of strange figuring out how to own totally your identity and who you are. And I'm not telling this because I think it's bad to be partly Serbian for her, but it's strange also because she has my surname. So just saying, looking at her name would probably make people think that she's, I don't know. But I have been thinking about this, and I'm just figuring out what's a good way of owning the identity of somebody who is, because now when I'm talking in her, you could kind of hear it like I want her to be Norwegian because this is important, and I don't want her to be Serbian or considered Serbian. But it's more about feeling good about yourself, whatever combination or whatever parts you have or don't have, that everything is a plus rather than not good enough. Should be like Norwegian plus, right? That's kind of a way I would like everybody to be able to think, right?
Do you have your plans for the future are to stay here, or are you thinking of going back?
Because of my daughter, I don't think it's possible to move back, at least not in some years. Before I got her, I was considering that, of course. And in a way, the Serbia I left was much better than the Serbia I would meet now, which is a very depressing thing to say, but it is. So it's kind of, at least now, it doesn't look like a good place to move to. when I say that, it's not like I don't miss a lot of things there. I mean, I miss my family. I miss my city. I kind of have these dreams where I just walk the streets because you know the places and things happen there and you were there with some people, and it's like the places which are a part of you that I miss. I mean, I just miss walking the streets, right? And of course I miss a lot of people that I really, really love. So that feeling of history at a certain place was missing for a long time. Now finally, because I've been here for 12 years, 13 years now, I'm kind of starting to see that I have built some history here as well. Like, we've been places, I've done things, and it starts to feel like this could also be a part of me, Oslo and living here. But I don't know. I don't see this in any near future. Maybe when I retire, maybe not. Maybe it's going to be a totally different place. But for now, I think this is the best place to be, both for me and for my daughter.
What would you describe as the most Norwegian thing that became part of you, as you mentioned?
So I think this, if I say a culture of dialogue, would probably be strange, but I think this understanding that when you talk to people, being polite is a huge thing. Being able to listen to people before you just, I mean, I don't know if you ever compared the political debates in Norwegian TV and in Serbian TV. And it's uncomparable, but it also goes down to normal conversations and discussions. This ability to wait and try to actually listen. It's not like it works all the time, but that's the golden standard. Like, you're supposed to wait for your turn. You're supposed to try to figure out what the other person is saying, really. And also not thinking about attacking personal traits, but you're actually discussing a subject. You are, and almost, it almost doesn't matter who is on the other side, who the person on the other side is. It's about what their arguments are for the subject. And that is a very important thing, and it kind of makes a society work in a way that doesn't make it so go into this fight mode all the time.
Intention, yeah.
That's one of the things. And the other thing is, I had some friends over living with me in a few weeks. That's a few years ago. But anyways, they were like, okay, why are you using so soft and low voice when you talk to people? I mean, we cannot really hear you when you talk to other people on the street. And then I realized, okay, maybe I'm doing this because being loud and taking a lot of space, in a way, it's so usual. And here people, and here people are kind of both giving you space, literally, I mean, physically, but also this kind of not trying to yell, but it's not yelling, it's just using all of your lungs when you're speaking, and here it's like strange, and they think you're angry. So like being calm in a way that, again, I guess it goes to this, not promoting this kind of, it's not aggressive communication, but it's sometimes it is. Yeah. So yeah.
More balanced.
Yes. Because that's what's expected, and that's something that you can practice and you can master. So just this willingness to actually practice this self-control, and I think it's, for us, it's practice, because I really think that it's also about how big the feelings you're feeling are. It's not the same for all the people. Yeah. But again, being able to master this big feelings is a huge step to being able to communicate with other people in an okay manner.
So how do you feel when you are going home now?
Yes, I'm going. I'm not now thinking that me going home is usually me going home to my parents, and really not being out in the society that much, because it's not that easy. That's one of the things. It's not that easy having a child with you in Serbia. Like everything from getting from one place to another, which takes time and it's unpredictable, and the logistics of it are like much more. Here I don't think about it, but there I really need to plan ahead. Then I mean, all this people smoking everywhere. It's like, it's totally, it's just, I cannot really do this. And I don't want to be inside when it's so much smoke, because I'm totally not used to it. I know I did it when I was young. I never smoked myself, but it kind of never bothered me. Or the things happening inside in the clubs or restaurants or whatever were more important than than thinking about the quality of the air I was I was using. So that one, and so basically being so much in the house with my parents, it boils down to watching TV, and that's why I told you this about the culture. It's not a culture. It's just this feeling that there are no standards, that people are totally confusing rudeness with sincerity, like being true to whatever you think or feel, and being rude. It's not the same thing. I mean, you can discuss, and you can have differing opinions and still having respect for the person you're discussing with, and that's kind of totally taken away. So it's very much about who people are and what they are. People are criticizing all the time the person on the other side for who they are, and they're really not discussing the topics, the issues, the things that need to be solved, right? I can be a total asshole, but I can still give you a good solution to a problem, right? And why should you then go and tell me all the time that I'm even if I am, right? When actually
with a good solution.
Yeah,
please. It's possible, yeah.
It definitely is possible, and then you kind of end up the discussion by all the people telling each other that they are assholes, but they haven't really discussed the issue of getting wheels on moving, getting people to work, getting social security network better, or whatever. You never kind of come to this type of subjects, because it's just throwing shit to each other. It's like, it's totally useless. I mean, that kind of discussions are totally useless. You never come to any solution. You're just insulting each other. And then it's insulting the people who watch that, because you don't get anything. You just get this normalizing of that kind of dialogue, and it's not normal, and it's not what we are trying to do. It's not progress. It's like going back. And I know Serbia is not the only place this is happening. It's many places, and that makes me sad. So I really, really hope that won't happen here. And I think a lot of people here think, no, it could never happen here. But some tendencies are actually appearing, which I think is...
You mean politically, or?
Yeah, I mean, we cannot really compare with what's happening in the US, right? That Trump is kind of was the key or an example of this being sincere. Like, I'm telling you the things they are, and I'm showing you how I feel, and I can call people what I want, because this is the truth, right? Yeah. Compared to, I have an opinion, and I can give you my opinion, but I can do it in a way that shows respect for you. That's kind of totally disappearing. This thinking that showing respect and being civilized is something false. No, it's a
weakness.
A weakness, or or lie. You're lying. You're not being, because you actually hate me, right? But you won't tell this. You're making this, but it's not. It's an effort. It's a kind of civilizational achievement. We don't really want to go back, because this is what makes us not go into war when we don't agree or don't fight each other or whatever. So it actually takes practice and it takes effort, and I think should be valued instead of being labeled as false. So that really scares me. But Norway is by no means there. But I think that it can happen anywhere.
Yeah. If it's not existing now, it's not a guarantee that it won't shows up once. But did you ever experience anything when it comes to your background and that you are not Norwegians? Did you have any problem, or verbally or in any way?
Well, I guess I've been lucky in a way that I work at the university, which is actually a very international community. So not being from Norway is more like a norm than a strange thing, because a lot of people are not from Norway and working there. My daughter went to kindergarten at the university. So also a lot of kids there were not Norwegians, or are actually very mixed, like mother from Japan and father from Sweden, and they're going to a Norwegian kindergarten, and any type of imaginable combinations. So in that way, also for her and for me, not being from Norway was kind of normal, totally normal thing. So no, I've never experienced anything bad, or at least not that I remember now. Sometimes I feel that it's more difficult to discuss things, especially things that are kind of really important and really big, like discussing the school system, right? Which is, I mean, everybody has an opinion about how the schools work, what should be the like political goals about learning and making citizens of the future, and what type of knowledge they need and they don't need, and how this should work, and mobbing and whatever. So people, of course, everybody has their own opinions, but coming from a side and kind of offering your own opinion could be a problem, because, and I don't think officially, I think in discussing with other people, other parents or whatever, because some of them might say it, some of them you kind of know that they're just thinking it based on the way they answer or discuss. But it's like, is it any better in Serbia? That is that is definitely not something that I'm telling you that, okay, I have this perfect solution for my country and you should, by no ways. So it's this strange thinking that if you are criticizing or maybe pointing out things that could be better, I mean, that you are actually telling them that you know, or your system is better. And it's never my argument, because it would be totally ridiculous. I mean, no, it's not. But that's not why I can tell you this. It's not the only legitimate position. Like, I don't need to come from a better system to be able to see things in a different way, or at least offer my opinion. Like,
yeah, to be critical about the things happening that we are living in. Yeah. I totally agree. Also, did you experience maybe opposite in Belgrade, in Serbia now? Sometimes when I'm giving some arguments, I could hear something like, "Oh, you became Norwegian, so it's not valid now." Did you experience something similar?
No, not personally, but of course I read the news and I read comments on different news, and I realize that people who are living abroad can meet this, but you don't know how it is here, or you don't really know what you're talking about. And that's kind of the same thing. It's just like, okay, even though you are now living in a different system, it doesn't mean that you cannot see things, because you can actually see some things better. It's like the fish and the water. Like, when you're out, that's the first time you realize that you were in it and you can see the water. And that's the same for the people here, and it's the same for the people there. So people who kind of cross these paths or waters or systems, they are actually in a better position to see things. And it's not a strange thing. I mean, when you change jobs, the first few months you can actually see things that people who've been there for many years don't see anymore, because it's just normalized. So it's basically the same. You just, of course, not everything you say is possible to implement, or there are good reasons why they shouldn't be implemented, but your way of seeing is still valuable, I would say. So instead of trying to justify whatever you have, people should be more open to hear what you're saying, because sometimes maybe 1 out of 10 comments is actually something that you can, yeah, that was...
It could be improvement.
It could be a good idea to try that, yeah.
And are you missing something from home?
Yeah, I'm missing the people I love. I miss my family. I miss my friends, especially those friends who've known me forever. So like having people around who've known you since you were almost a kid, right? Who kind of followed your life story for such a long time that you don't really need to explain that much. They are just there, knowing that you have such people in your life. It's something that you miss. Or of course I do have contacts with people still who have known me, but it's not the same. And so people around you who you meet most, they don't know your roots in a way. They don't really know where you come from. And I don't think the country, I mean your life history, your life story. So it's kind of, yeah. I miss that. And I miss the city because, as I told you, all the places you used to go to, kind of the festivals you do, and all the culture stuff, I guess. Luckily, it exists here as well. It's just that it's a bit different in Belgrade than it is here naturally. So I think I miss that for the most, but there are a lot of things that I don't miss also. So it's that I'm really glad I don't have to do or feel or anymore. So it's
you're satisfied with your life.
Yeah, I think
saying
anything else would probably be, and it's also about what life you make for yourself. So what I like here is that you actually have an opportunity to make a good life for yourself. It's not like everything is served on a silver plate or whatever, but it's the possibility of building it the way you need it to be, or this feeling of possibilities is there, which kind of I feel is basically gone for very, very many people in Serbia now. This feeling that your life is in your hands, mostly. I mean, it never is 100%, but knowing that if you take charge, if you take decisions, if you work, if you educate yourself, whatever, you can actually influence your life in such a way that you feel that you have certain control, which is kind of totally lacking in Serbia right now. That's why people are probably depressed. I guess it's kind of the same in the US or many other countries in the world right now. This feeling of being powerless and not being able to influence your life in any significant way.
Olga, thank you very much. I really enjoyed having this morning with you.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for letting me talk so much and kind of explain things that I've been feeling and thinking about and living for the last, I wanted to say 13, but it's actually 20 years because I've moved back and forth so much. So it's been totally a big part of my adult life. So I would probably be able to talk about many, many more hours, but I think we kind of touched the essence of how it feels for me to have these two sides, two sources of who I am.
Yeah, that's exactly what we are trying to achieve with this podcast. And thank you. Thank you for your story.
Eto ti ga!
Thank you for listening. Remember that you can support Norwegian newcomers on Patreon, and please tell a friend about this podcast.